Hey, what's up, One Life? So glad you could join us. Man, we're going to do an oldie but a goodie here, a song that we wrote as a church. I don't know, it's probably 6 or 7 years ago. Yeah, one of my favorites. It's called Only You. Here we go. has been revealed. Whoa.
Hey everyone, hope you're doing well today. My name is Aaron. I'm the Next Gen pastor here at One Life Church, and I just want to say welcome. I'm glad you decided to tune in with us today to hear a message, to worship, and to engage with your church family. If this is your first time today, we're glad that you decided to give us a chance to check us out, and it is my prayer that today you would be able to connect with God through our service and connect with some new people who are here with you as well. Over in the chat section, make sure you check that out. It's a great place to talk to people and just see how everyone is doing. I want to announce to you guys a few things. First of all, our orientation shindig. It is going to be an online-only shindig, and it is July 12th at 1 p.m. And if you don't know, shindig is for the newer people around here, or if you've been coming here for a while and you haven't gone through shindig yet. What it is it is a time where we teach about what our church believes, where we say, what it means to be a part of our family. It is a time for you to connect with other people who are going through the shindig as well. And basically, if you're interested at all in membership at One Life or just learning more about our church and our history and what it means to be a part of the family, then I would encourage you to sign up for the shindig on July 12th at 1 p.m. Next, we have a blessing box here on our property, and this is a place where people who have need for food or basic hygiene supplies, they can come and they can gather those just in an as-need sort of basis. And we've partnered with other churches in our area who are helping supply that box as well. In the month of July, it is on us to be filling and keeping that box supplied. So you can sign up for a day that you're going to come and you're going to bring non-perishable food items, that you'll bring hygiene supplies like toothpaste, things like that, and that you can come and bring this by to the church. It's right on our property, right at the front, and you can just fill that box and continue to be a blessing to our community, to our neighbors around us. Last, I want to tell you about the Axiom groups. These are a time of discipleship growth where you can learn more about what it means to be a follower of Jesus in a small group setting as we go through these 4 axioms that kind of teach us about who Jesus is and what we need to know about him. And the first one is starting on July 9th, and it is already full. It's awesome. This group is full. People are excited to be a part of it, and there are going to be plenty of opportunities for you to continue signing up. We're going to start new groups regularly, so you can do that at onelifechurch.tv/axiom, and you can get more information there, and you can sign up there as well. Today, I want to read to you guys Psalm 65, verse 1 through 4, and this is what it says. What mighty praise, O God, belongs to you in Zion, We will fulfill our vows to you, for you answer our prayers. All of us must come to you. Though we are overwhelmed by our sins, you forgive them all. What joy for those you choose to bring near, those who live in your holy courts. What festivities await us inside your holy temple. And verse 3 is what stood out to me today, where he says, though we are overwhelmed by our sins, you forgive them all. No matter how much we feel like our sin has kind of swallowed us or taken us over, God forgives our sins. So today, as we continue in worship, let us be overwhelmed by the forgiveness that God has given us.
Let your glory fill this place. We're alive in your presence. It's your heart we're searching for. We want you and nothing more. And let your glory fill this place. We're alive in your presence. And we surrender all to you. Do what you want to, do what you want to. God, we love to see you move. Do what you want to, do what you want to. Do what you want to. We are standing in your light, and our hearts are open wide. Let us see more than before. Lord, come have your way. Yeah. We surrender all to you. Do what you want to, do what you want to. God, we love to see you move. Do what you want to, do what you want to. We surrender all to you. Do what you want to, do what you want to. God, we love to see you move. Do what you want to, do what you want to. Yeah, have your way in our hearts, in our minds, in this place.
friends, we're going to take communion together, so I want to invite you to go ahead and get the crackers, the bread, the juice, bring the family together. And last week, it was so cool. I got to sit in my living room with my kids and my wife, and we took communion together. It was such a sacred, beautiful moment. And so my prayer is that you'll have that moment right now, wherever you're sitting, and that we'll also have it collectively as a church as we are gathering together, even online. As I think about communion today, I think about the story, and it might seem kind of weird. I think of the story where the disciples were on a boat, and they were in the middle of the storm, and Jesus was still on the shore. And Jesus, doing Jesus things, started to walk on the water towards the boat in the middle of the storm. I think we forget that there was a storm happening. And as he gets closer to the boat, the disciples are afraid because they thought it was a ghost. And so Peter cries out, he says, "If it is you, Lord, if it's you and not a ghost, call me to yourself and I will get out of the boat." And so Jesus says, "Come on, Peter, come and walk on the water. Trust me." And Peter does. It's an amazing story. Peter steps out of that boat and he starts walking on the water in the midst of a storm, in the midst of high waves. And in a moment, he takes his eyes off of Jesus and he begins to sink. Jesus does not shame him. He does not guilt him. He doesn't rebuke him. Instead, what we see is that Jesus offers his hand to Peter sinking in the middle of the storm, and he rescues him from the waves and pulls him back up, and they walk back to the boat together. So today, as we take communion, I think of the seasons where I've been sinking. I think of my human state as a sinner, that in my sin I am sinking, and the end result of that is death. It's drowning. And Jesus didn't look over me. He didn't walk around me. He didn't ignore me, but instead, in the midst of my sin, he reached his hand down and he pulled me out of my sin, and we walked together. So let's keep that in mind today as we take communion. On the night that Jesus was betrayed, Jesus was eating a meal with his closest friends. And in the middle of the meal, Jesus took the bread. He gave thanks for the bread, and he broke the bread. And he said to his friends, he said to his disciples, "This bread, this is my body that has been broken for you, that has been given to you as a gift. Take and eat." And in the same way, he took the cup and he gave thanks for the cup. And he said to his friends, "This cup, this is my blood, the blood of a new covenant offered to you for the forgiveness of your sins." This is Jesus' way of rescuing us. This is Jesus offering his hand and pulling us up from the waves, pulling us out of our sin so that we might walk with him. Take and drink. Jesus, thank you for doing what we could not, for defeating sin, for going to the cross, for giving yourself up for us, for defeating the grave, and for rescuing us. We worship you and you alone. It's in your name that we pray. Amen. Amen.
God of your promise.
To speak in vain, syllable into your once you have spoken, nature inside is follow the sound of your voice. You speak. Your breath, evolving in pursuit of what you say. I feel all reviews in nature so alive. I can see your heart in everything you say. Every pain's got a canvas of your grace. If creation still obeys you, so if the stars were made to worship, so alive. If the mountains bow in reverence, so alive. If the oceans are your greatness, so alive, so alive. For if everything exists to lift you high, so alive. If the wind knows where you send it, so alive. If the rocks cry out in silence, so alive. If the sum of all our praises still falls short, we will sing again 100 million You chase down my heart through all of my failures and pride. Wanna hear you create the light of the world, abandoned in darkness to die. Does you speak? Disappear, yeah. They lost in life so I could find it here. If you left the grave behind you, so alive. I can see your heart in everything you've done. Every part designed in a world of art and color. If you gladly chose surrender, so alive. I can see your heart in a billion different ways. And precious one, the child you died to save. You gave your heart to love him so alive, like you would again 100 billion times. But what measure could amount to your desire? The one who never leaves the one behind. Oh.
everybody. My name is Justin, and I'm one of the pastors here at One Life. It is so good to be able to hang out with you today. I want to invite you to continue to worship through the giving of your tithes and offerings. Some of you, a lot of you already give online, and your tithes and offerings come out automatically. We want to say thank you. And right now, maybe you just say a prayer to say, God, I am offering my tithes and offerings to you as a way of worship. If your tithes and offerings do not come out automatically, then we want to invite you to go ahead and do that right now. And there's going to be a link in the chat where you can worship through the giving of your tithes and offerings at this time. While you're doing that, let me tell you about something called Orientation Shindig. Orientation Shindig is our on-ramp, the next step for you to become a partner with One Life Church, to become a member of the One Life Church family. And we have a Shindig coming up in July. It's our very first time having it online because that's our new normal. And we want to invite you to be a part of that. So if you have not taken that step to say, I want to be a part of this church, I want to be a part of this family, we want to invite you to click that link that's in the chat and fill out a form and let our staff know that you're interested in being a part of the upcoming Shindig. And we'll reach out to you and give you all the details that you need. All right? So today we're going to continue walking through the Psalms, and we're going to land in Psalm 68. So if you have your Bible or you have a device, I want to invite you to go ahead and turn to Psalm 68. Before we jump in, we're going to have a group conversation, and the conversation today is this: how do you respond when unexpected things happen? How do you respond when unexpected things happen? Now, for me, I don't love surprises, okay? I'm not I just don't like surprises. And so when something unexpected happens, my body goes through a lot of different emotions. My anxiety shoots through the roof. So I'm wondering for you, how do you respond when unexpected things happen? Let me give you a few ideas that you might be able to share. Maybe you respond with fear. Maybe you become super afraid. Maybe it's anger. You become angry. Maybe it's anxiety. Maybe it's control. You white knuckle everything. Or maybe you go into hiding. You just isolate yourself. And so I'm going to give you 2 minutes to talk to the people in the living room that you're sitting with, or also share on the chat bar. How do you respond when unexpected things happen in your life? You have 2 minutes. Ready, set, go. All right, let's come back together. I want to be honest with you. Whenever I'm preparing for a teaching, one of my prayers is, God, what does our church need to hear? Where do we find ourselves? What are we up against? What are we facing? What is it that we collectively as a church need to hear. And it's no surprise that we are going through something unexpected. It feels like there are several things happening in our world that are unexpected. We didn't plan for them. When we walked into 2020, these weren't on the to-do list. These weren't on the calendar. These weren't a part of our goals for 2020. And so as I've been reading through the Psalms, I just continue to see this idea, like, how do we respond when things don't go the way that we thought they should go? Now, I heard one author say that the Psalms are a school in anger. A school in anger. And if you read the Psalms, I want to invite you to be reading through the Psalms as we continue through this series. We gave you a reading plan at onelifechurch.tv/Devo, D-E-V-O, and you can read through the Psalms. And as you read through the Psalms, you might pick up on this theme that the psalmists sometimes sound angry. They might sound angry, like angry at their enemies, angry at those who have pushed them down. And so this author says that it's actually a school in anger. How do we deal with our anger? If I'm honest, whenever something unexpected happens, for me, my anxiety rises. I try to control things. I try to white knuckle them. But I also become angry because this isn't the way that it is supposed to be. And so the Psalms are a school in what do we do with that anger? What do we do with that anxiety that rises up in us? Because it's part of being human, my friends. It's part of being human. The anger that we feel, the anxiety that we feel, the control, the fear, all of those things are human. Isn't that good news? Those things, they're not abnormal to you or to me. They are actually human. And the Psalms tries to help us understand what to do with that anger and how God speaks into that anger. Now, in the Western world, which is where we live and where we grew up, it is our context. In the Western world, we have been taught that in the face of unexpected things, we have been taught to ask the question, why? Why is this happening? Why did this happen? Why did God let this happen? Maybe you've been there. Maybe you lost someone that you loved and they may have passed away at a very early age and you shook your fist at the heavens and you asked, why? Now let me say this up front before we go any further, that God is okay with the question why. He receives it. He is big enough to handle that question. He is big enough to handle us shaking our fist. God is not going to rebuke us or push us away or ignore us. He is not going to be ashamed of us because in the moment of tragedy, we are shaking our fists and asking why. But in the Western world, we have been trained to ask this question, why? Why is this happening? Why did God do this? Why did God allow this to happen? I have been asking that question a lot over the past few weeks. As I've watched what seems like the world is being unraveled, a friend of mine this week compared it to his son running around the backyard and there was a string on his shorts. And the son just continued to pull at the string and it was unraveling the material. You've done this before, right? And eventually, he said he looked out in the backyard and his son had this string that was 20 feet long following behind him. And whenever I look at the things that are happening in the world, it feels a lot like that we pull on a string and it just continues to unravel and unravel. And I've been asking God, why? Why is this happening? But as I've been digging down underneath this question, why? What I've realized is that question actually reveals something about my theology. Now, what is theology? Theology is the study of the nature of God. It is the study of who God is and what God is up to in the world. And so this question, why, it reveals something about my theology, about what I believe about who God is and what God is up to in the world. Now, the why question, what is underneath my theology, is actually attached to a pagan belief or a pagan practice, a pagan understanding of the gods. You might know this about history, that throughout history there were multiple gods. The Greeks had multiple gods. And so they would ask the why question as a way of saying, why are the gods allowing these things to happen? And our why question is actually attached to this pagan practice of wondering, why are the gods doing this to us? For example, it's possible that the answer to why did our crops not produce a harvest this year is because the gods are not pleased with us. And so in the Greek culture, if your crops were not producing a harvest, you would ask, why is God, the gods, not allowing our crops to produce a harvest? So underneath this is a theology of saying, the gods are doing this to me. That I have not pleased the gods, that I have not done enough to seek to have favor in the eyes of God. Why are the gods doing this to me? Do you see that this is really unhealthy theology? Unhealthy theology to believe this is the kind of God that Yahweh is, the kind of God that we see in the person of Jesus. Is that the kind of God that we're talking about? Can you resonate with that line of thinking? What example from your own life comes to mind? Where is a place in your life where you have said, why is God allowing this to happen? If this thing is happening, then what is it that God is holding against me? Why is God holding out on me? It goes back to the original temptation of Adam and Eve, really. The serpent comes to Adam and Eve and says, he doesn't want you to be like him. God is holding out on you. Can you resonate with that? If you dig down under your theology, can you see that at play in your own theology? I know that I can. I know that I can. So if why isn't the question that we should be asking, then what question or questions should we ask? In the face of unexpected things, in the face of unexpected events, what questions should we ask? The better, more healthy, more gospel-oriented questions are these: what and where? What is God up to? So when I face the unexpected, what is God doing here? Or what is God going to do through this unexpected event? And then this question, where? Where is God? Where is God in the midst of this unexpected event? Where is God in the midst of this tragedy, in the midst of this hard season? Where is God at work? Psalm 68 answers the what questions and the where questions in a couple very beautiful verses. Psalm 68, starting in verse 5, the psalmist writes this: He, God, Yahweh, is a father to the fatherless. So what the psalmist is doing is he is describing, he's painting a picture for us. This is what Yahweh looks like. This is what kind of God we're talking about. He is a father to the fatherless, the defender of widows. God rules from his holy dwelling place. God places the lonely in families. He sets the prisoners free, and he gives them joy. What kind of God are we talking about in the Psalms? He is a father to the fatherless. He is the defender of the widows. He rules from his holy dwelling place. God places the lonely in families. He sets the prisoners free and gives them joy. Now, when you look at these couple verses, they're beautiful, but there's also tragedy in these verses. The context of these verses is this: there are children who have lost their fathers. Did you notice that? For someone to be fatherless, then there had to be a child who lost their fathers. That's tragedy, an unexpected event. There are wives who have lost their husbands. And these children who have lost their fathers and these wives who have lost their husbands, they are lonely. They are isolated. They might be outcasts. Now, this wasn't only referring to a father dying, okay? So Psalm 68 isn't only referring to a child whose father passed away. Instead, it was referring to fathers, men, who were taken from their families and made to be prisoners. They became slaves to another group of people. This would happen in the time of the psalmist. It would happen when one group of people would conquer another group of people. They would take the men and they would make them slaves, and they would leave the women and the children behind to fend for themselves. If we ask, why did God allow this to happen? Or worse yet, why did God make this happen? Then it's very possible that we are seeing God as someone or something to be appeased. If we appease the gods, if we please the gods, then the gods will not take our fathers away. The gods will not take our husbands away. The gods will not take our loved ones away. If we do enough right things and do fewer bad things, then the gods won't leave us all alone to fend for ourselves. The gods won't come and take our husbands and our fathers away into enslavement. This is a pagan view and understanding of God. And it's not the way that Yahweh, God, wishes to be seen or experienced. This is not the God of the Psalms. The psalmist is helping the reader, helping the audience, helping you and I understand who God truly is. The psalmist is helping the reader understand what God is actually up to when we face the unexpected. The psalmist is helping us understand where God is working and where God is present. Where is God when something terrible happens? What is God doing in that moment? So let's look at Psalm 68, verses 5 and 6. It says that he is a father to the fatherless. He is a defender of the widows. God rules from his holy dwelling place. God places the lonely in families. He sets the prisoners free, and he gives them joy. The first thing that we know about God is this, that he is with us. He is with us. He is the father to the fatherless. He is the father that never leaves. He is standing by our side. My friends, this is the gospel that we see in the person of Jesus. Jesus is given the name Emmanuel, and Emmanuel means God with us. Jesus reminds his disciples, I will not leave you as orphans. He reminds his disciples, I am never going to leave you. I am never going to forsake you. Paul says, he says that we have been adopted as children of the Most High. He is a father to the fatherless. He is with us. So when unexpected things happen, when tragedy happens, the answer to the question of what and the question of where is, he is here. He is here with me, near to me, beside me, never leaving me. Psalm 68, verse 5 through 6 says, he is a father to the fatherless, the defender of the widows. God rules from his holy dwelling place. God places the lonely in families. He sets the prisoners free and gives them joy. Who is this God that the psalmist writes about? He is a God that defends us. He defends us. He is the defender of the widow. In the Old Testament, we read that it says that we should just be still and allow God to fight for us. It's interesting, isn't it, that when we read the story of David and Goliath, that oftentimes the application is that you should go out and be David. Go out and slay your giant. That is not the gospel. The gospel is that God is the one that does our fighting. He defends us. He defends those who cannot defend themselves. He defends those who are in a weak state. He is our defender. He fights on our behalf. We see this in the person of Jesus. We could not defeat sin, but he fought sin on our behalf. Jesus is our David. He is the one that defeats the giant. He is the one that defeats Goliath. He is our defender. Psalm 68, verses 5 through 6, he is the father to the fatherless, the defender of widows. God rules from his holy dwelling place. God places the lonely in families, and he sets the prisoners free, and he gives them joy. He adopts us. He adopts us. He places the lonely into new families. You've been adopted as a son. You've been adopted as a daughter. See, when you were born into this flesh suit, you were outside of the family of God. You were created in the image of God. You've always been an image bearer of God. You have had his thumbprint on you, but you weren't part of the family. You were not at the table. Because of your sin, you weren't sitting at the table. But God, in the person of Jesus, through the cross, adopts you and invites you to take a seat at the table as a son, as a daughter, as a co-heir. And you have an inheritance as a child. Everything that is his is yours. It's a gift. He adopts us. When we're lonely, when we feel cast out, when we are outcast, when we are marginalized, when we feel looked over, when we are forgotten, he says, come and be a part of my family. It's kind of crazy to me that in a world that is so connected like our world, we are connected 24 hours a day by our phones, by our social media accounts, yet we are so disconnected and we are so lonely, longing for friendship, longing for relationship. If there's been one thing that this virus, the coronavirus and COVID-19 and this experience has highlighted, is that we need a family. We need relationship, and God, through the person of Jesus, through the cross, adopts us into a new family called the church. He adopts us. Psalm 68, verses 5 through 6. He is a father to the fatherless, the defender of widows. God rules from his holy dwelling place. God places the lonely in families. He sets the prisoners free, and he gives them joy. He delivers us. He delivers us. He sets the prisoners free. This would have been amazing news to the widow, to the fatherless. The promise that God is going to deliver those who are enslaved. We see it in the story of Israel. He hears the cries of his people when they are under the oppression. They are enslaved to Egypt and Pharaoh. And he sends Moses to deliver his people, to set them free. He is about setting the prisoners free. Make no mistake, God has always been in the business of setting the prisoners free, setting the oppressed free. This is the gospel. The gospel is not just about, it is about us being set free from our sin, but it is also about God doing a good work in a broken world, setting the oppressed and the prisoner free. That is the work of Yahweh. That is the work of God. He came to set the prisoners free. Remember, this in Psalms, this was very practical, an actual thing that was happening. And the promise is that he was going to set the oppressed, the enslaved, free. He was going to set the prisoners free. He delivers us. And finally, He is a father of the fatherless, the defender of widows. God rules from his holy dwelling place. God places the lonely in families. He sets the prisoners free, and he gives them joy. He satisfies us. He satisfies us. He gives us everything that we need. Jesus says in Matthew chapter 5, "Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled," or they will be satisfied. Jesus says in John chapter 15 that when we remain in him, abide in him, his joy will be in us and it will be complete. We will experience the fullness of his joy. He alone satisfies us. So the psalmist isn't trying to answer our why questions. The psalmist, the other biblical authors, and the early Christians, they weren't trying to answer the why question. For them, the why question had a simple answer. Why do bad things happen? Because we live in a world that has been wrecked and stained by sin. The early Christians faced plagues after plagues after plagues. Why do plagues happen? Why do diseases happen? Because we live in a world that is stained by sin, wrecked by sin. The shalom of God has been broken by sin. Why do people die tragically? Because we live in a world stained and wrecked by sin. Death was not in the plan, but because we live in a world stained by sin, we are going to die. Why do crops not grow? Because we live in a world stained by sin. Now, these answers, simple answers of sin wrecking the world and staining the world, it's not to dismiss the severity of the events. They are tragic. They are painful. They deserve our mourning and our grieving. But it's not God's fault. And so the early Christians, they were not asking the why question. They already had the answer to the why question. It's not God's fault. They weren't blaming God for these things that they were experiencing, the unexpected things they were experiencing. Instead, they were asking new questions. What is God up to in the world? See, often our why questions, they lead us to doubt the bedrock characteristics of God. Instead of asking why, we start to learn to ask what God is doing here, what God is up to. When we start asking what is God doing and where is God at work, it's like walking through a fog of tragedy with our eyes wide open, looking for God. Where is God? What is God up to? Looking for the presence and the work of the Lord in our midst, right where we are. So the psalmist in Psalm 68 is not answering our why question. The psalmist is answering the question of what? Answering the question of where. And he answers with these words: He, God, is a father to the fatherless. He is a defender of the widows. He invites the lonely in. He sets the prisoners free. Jesus echoes Psalm 68 in Luke chapter 4, verses 18 through 19. Jesus is in his hometown, and he visits the synagogue on the Sabbath. He stands up in the synagogue, he unrolls the scroll, the prophet Isaiah, and he reads these words. This is from the prophet Isaiah, and Jesus is reading these words in the synagogue. The Spirit of the Lord is on me, because he has anointed me to preach good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim freedom for the prisoners and recovery of sight for the blind, to release the oppressed, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor. So he's echoing this same truth, these bedrock truths about God's character. He's echoing Psalm 68. And then Jesus rolls up the scroll and he says to the audience, today, this scripture is fulfilled in your hearing. This is an amazing, amazing moment, an incredible moment. Jesus is saying that he is the fulfillment of the prophets. He is the fulfillment of Isaiah's prophecies. Jesus is saying that he is the fulfillment of the promise that we read in Psalm 68. He is the fulfillment. He is the fulfillment of God's promises. Jesus is. See, it's in Jesus that we are adopted. It's in Jesus that we are not alone. It's in Jesus that we will not be defeated. It's in Jesus that we have been set free. Not apart from Jesus, not on our own, but in Jesus. So the what questions and the where questions, they lead us to Jesus. They point us to Jesus. What is God doing in the midst of this unexpected season? That question points us to Jesus. Jesus is the answer. This question of where is God in the midst of this unexpected season, the question points us to Jesus. Jesus is the answer. So my friends, are you facing an unexpected season? Of course you are. That unexpected season points you to Jesus. Look at Jesus. Are you in a season of mourning and grieving? Look to Jesus. Are you lonely? Look to Jesus. Are you enslaved by sin and shame and fear? Look to Jesus. Are you overwhelmed? Look to Jesus. Are you anxious? Look to Jesus. Are you trying to control things? Look to Jesus. Jesus is the fulfillment of God's promise. Jesus and Jesus alone. So I want to invite you today. Surrender to Jesus. Follow Jesus. Pursue Jesus. Participate with the way of Jesus. Walk with Jesus today. Be led by Jesus today. Look to Jesus today. Let's pray. Father God, I thank you for your word. And I thank you that the truth of who you are is written on every page. I thank you that the truth of who you are was fulfilled in your Son, Jesus. That you found it to be great joy that your full character, completely, who you are, completely was lived out and walked out in the person of Jesus. I thank you that we see that in your word. I pray that today we will trust that, God, you are with us, that you have adopted us, that you defend us, that you are walking among us. God, that you are delivering us. I pray that we would surrender to your work in our lives. It's in the name of Jesus that we pray. Amen and amen. Thank you so much for joining us today. I pray that you have a wonderful, wonderful week. Grace and peace.